Hi Capricorn, welcome to your October 2018 Astro Update. It's Rena here. I have the windows open, so there could be a lot of noise outside, and I really live on a nice block. It's just that at certain times of the day, it gets very busy, or at least relatively so. Boy, October is kind of a continuation from September. I think I put something in the title for September about your career, but there's a lot of that still going on in October, maybe even more so, because for you, the 10th house is Libra, and the sun is going to be in that house for the first few weeks. So you're looking at a lot of vitality and focus in this particular area. You know, just think about the sun card in the tarot. It's all connected, and it really does showcase what that energy is like, which is kind of about healing and prosperity and love in some cases, although in this case, I think it's because it's in the 10th house, it's going to be more about success, you know, and that's a big one for the sun, okay? And at that, you know, we're talking about starting right at the beginning of the month. The sun is in this 10th house, and Mercury is there too. So that means that you are focused on career, both in your energy, but also mentally. Maybe you're even like plotting your next takeover and doing things like that. The other thing to note too is that this is your house. This is the house that you rule. So when the sun is in this house and you have a lot of transits in this house, this is, well, especially the sun, it's like you are stepping into who you are, even more so, because at this time, now of course this happens every year, but still, it's a time of great vitality. When I look overall at the month of October, it's really not this time of a million transits, but the one that is making all the headlines is Venus retrograding, because Venus doesn't do this every couple of months. You know, this is something that happens once every year and a half, that Venus retrogrades in a particular sign or two signs. And so Venus is going to begin her retrograde on October 5th, and this will be at 10 degrees of Scorpio. And for you, Scorpio is the 11th house of hopes and wishes. So you rule the 10th house, and Aquarius rules the 11th house when you look at the universal chart. And in terms of what this represents versus the 10th house, you know, you think of achieving career goals in the 10th house, but the 11th house are like long-range goals that can, you know, be many different things depending on what your dreams are. And I have a feeling that during this Venus retrograde, because Venus can be about your values, you are going to look at it, and Venus can be about money. How does the money that I make and the status that I have really help me to feel like I'm, you know, it could be anything, like contributing, like really helping people, but also your enjoyment, what you get out of it. Venus is pleasure, okay? So if you're doing something that has a high status and is very well-paying, there can be a fleeting sense of satisfaction because other people may be really impressed. But when you think about it, how long does that really last? If somebody's impressed by you, does that really mean that, does it really at the end of the day mean very much at all? Are you living for other people, or are you living for yourself and your own self-actualization? So these kinds of issues may be kind of coming into the forefront, even though Venus is retrograding. You know, it seems like it's going backwards, but you're going forwards. You're growing, you're expanding by addressing these issues. And then there's a new moon in Libra on the 8th, and this is that 10th house of career. Now, this can be both a positive and a challenging situation, because let's say that you are really thinking in terms of what makes you happy. And then all of a sudden you get a promotion with your current career. That can tempt you to stay when you have already admitted to yourself that you're unhappy. By the way, I'm not suggesting that everyone during this Venus retrograde is going to decide that they hate their jobs. No way. Or their careers. No. It's all about contrast. And for some of you, it may not have anything to do with it. Maybe you, with the Venus retrograde, it can bring people from the past. Maybe there's somebody who comes into your past who used to, be connected to your career. It could even be like a money situation, but I can't help but draw connections between the houses. So when I think of the 11th house as being the long-range dreams, hopes, and wishes, the luckiest house, and even with Venus retrograde, there can be money coming to you that was owed to you in any of these areas, or maybe both of these areas, from friends. If a friend borrowed money from you and never paid you back, maybe they will pay you back. The 11th house can be your friendships. The 10th house, career matters. Maybe there was some kind of litigation. You felt like you weren't getting paid enough and you get retroactive pay for some kind of decision by the corporation. Who knows? But the point is that it could be something totally different than the scenario I first presented. I'm just bringing that up because there could be something along those lines that are making you really think about things. Of course, you have Mercury in that 10th house, so you're definitely mentally engaged when it comes to career. And then on the 9th, Mercury goes into that 11th house. So you see that is a pattern too. The 10th and 11th houses are featured in October for Capricorn. And so it's like your career, your hopes and wishes. Do they intersect? Are they separate? Because your hope, maybe you have a long-range hope of moving to Hawaii, but it's totally impractical for your career. And you might be at a crossroads. How can I make this happen? And yet, how would I make a living? And that would be something you would have to figure out. Can I take the skills from my career and parlay them into something that I could do in Hawaii? And I'm using this kind of extreme example because some people's dreams completely are completely divorced from their current career realities. And so they can't really say, oh, okay, well, I'll just get transferred to another city. There might be some situations where that wouldn't work. And it's very interesting. Or if you really do have a problem with your career, where it has become too much of a drain on your energy. And you may be good at what you do. You may be successful, but you may not be fully happy, or it's taking too much out of you. So these kinds of things do come up with people, but with the new moon, you might be like, oh, wow, this is making it even harder because I'm getting even new possibilities. Or if you've been researching, you may discover that there is something in Hawaii that you could do. I'm not saying you're all going to go to Hawaii, by the way. So with Mercury in that 11th house, your mind is on your goals, and you might be writing them down. Mercury can be writing, or just could be something on the internet, researching something on the internet about this. The sun goes into this 11th house on the 23rd, and by the way, becoming a digital nomad. Hey, can I do something where it doesn't matter where I live, where I can live anywhere in the world? And remember that Capricorn is going through so much. You have Pluto. Therefore, you just celebrated a decade of Pluto in your sign. Now you have Saturn joining the party. You've had Mars in your sign, retrograding in your sign. And now it's just so much going on and transforming you and demanding of you that you may be kind of like feeling, I've got to do something completely out of the box. And with the sun in the 11th house, it may be out of the box because this is a house of innovation, of not doing things by the book. Now, this is not your typical MO or whatever you want to call it, or way of doing things, but you may feel inspired to do it at this time. And then the very next day, we have the full moon in Taurus, which is a fellow earth sign, 5th house, the love house. And anybody who is single, that's a Capricorn, maybe you've been dating someone, you may come to a head with this person. Now, it is possible that you'll just say, it's over, this isn't working out. But it could be a situation where you realize that this is the person that you've been waiting for all your life. Sometimes it can even be like a friendship. That was the other thing I was going to say. That Venus retrograde in the 11th house can be a friend coming back into your life, a platonic friend. Now, is this person somebody who's really lover material? And this person, you thought they were just a friend, but it turns out that they're more than that. And maybe at this time you find that out. 5th house is also a house of creativity. So if you're an artist, you may be completing a project, or, even coming up with this amazing idea for a creative project, or home business. Because the 5th house can be the business that you own. So all around, very creative full moon. And then on the 31st, on Halloween, we have 2 transits. Mercury goes into Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the sign behind you. Hence, this is the 12th house. This is the woo house. So Mercury goes into a very impractical, if you want to call it that, area where it's not about being linear and even just like, your garden variety intellectual activity, but being way more intuitive. And it can feel like your mind is full of molasses because the 12th house is foggy. Neptune is connected to fog, confusion, and things like that. However, again, it's coming on the heels exactly a week after that full moon in Taurus, so that that could indicate that there's some kind of creative project, and you're getting very into that creative spirit. Could be a very intuitive time for you. Watch the things that you think about. They can even be ideas that come to you when you first wake up in the morning, or right before you go to sleep. I don't know which is the time they say is a really good time where things can come to you, ideas where people have ideas for inventions and all kinds of things. But this could also help you with any kind of business or something like that. If you come up with this great idea that's coming from your subconscious mind or from the Akashic record, or I don't know, not the Akashic records, I don't know, just the collective consciousness. The 12th house is the spiritual dimension, okay? And on the same day, Venus retrograde goes back into that 10th house. So that's when it's going to affect your career sector. And so that could be a time of really, thinking specifically about career and your values. It could even be some kind of a pay dispute. Maybe you feel like you've been at a particular corporation for a number of years and you deserve a lot more than you're getting. Maybe you see somebody else is making something that you're not making. Or this could reopen something that had been problematic in the past, and it's kind of coming back into a dispute. Again, it's going to be until November 16th, and that's when Venus goes direct. So this too shall pass, I guess. And that's what I have for you. So I hope that you enjoyed this. It looks like you're really going to be dealing not only with career matters in a positive way. Don't think that this is negative, even with the Venus retrograde. It's really like just kind of making you think. And with the 11th house, that and the sun goes into Scorpio on the 23rd, and that is a friendly angle to you. It's a sextile. That kind of energy with the 11th house being the luckiest house, that could be some kind of lucky break that comes your way in the next month. And by next month, I mean from the time that the sun goes into Scorpio. Oh, there's that music. Until, the latter part of November. And so it's a very, I think it's very nice for you at this time. If you enjoyed this and you want something specific to your time of birth, which gets into a whole new level because we're talking about what house is your sun in? You're a Capricorn, but what if your sun is in the first house? You may feel like you're a Leo, an Aries, but I mean, you may kind of be very extroverted, or your sun in the 5th house, which is the house that Leo rules. You may be very creative. You may be an artist. Maybe your sun is in the 12th house. And you're kind of like a Pisces person, and you're very mystical, and you're not really that materialistic. It's kind of fun to see this because I call it the layers of the onion. It's like we can say, oh yeah, what's your sign, baby? What's your sign? But there's so much more than that. And of course, your moon sign, your rising sign, Venus, Mars, and that kind of thing. And then looking at the trends that are happening for you. If you're listening to this and your sun is in Capricorn, your rising sign can be anything. And so your natal chart, which is the go-to type of chart that we look at for the mundane events in your life, all of these things are happening on the physical, on the material level for predictive purposes. That could be any house. I mean that could be any sign. I'm sorry. And so your rising sign determines your house placement. And so it's very interesting. And I have links to 2 of my just pure astrology types of readings. And so you can check that out. And I hope you have a wonderful month. Bye.